With respect to MyUSD again, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the marketing, which I think you kind of hit a little bit on earlier. So I'm not going to dive back into that direction. But what I do want to talk about is just going to be liquidity overall. So as it stands right now, liquidity is an issue in Cardano, right? Even with things like IUSD and JED, I believe right now the entire TVL for stablecoins on Cardano is right at about 19 or so million. With the expectations of the launch of USDM, that would of course bring additional liquidity. But it seems like right now that is kind of like the biggest hurdle. I've actually just released some content surrounding adopting USDC on Cardano, and I put out a poll asking my community if they wanted something like that. And a lot of people actually had voted in favor of that. I think there was over 2,000 votes, and 85% or so were all in favor of bringing USDC. And the key component is always coming back to the liquidity factor. You know, with something like MyUSD, which is a stable coin that thrives off of existing stable coins, what is the plan to increase liquidity and potential adoption moving forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have two thoughts here. So the first is the Mynth Genesis program that is currently underway, and that's part of our liquid staking program where users can purchase NFTs and stake them in the Mynth platform and earn Mynth token. And all those proceeds go directly into the MyUSD pool. So that has contributed quite a lot to our pool. Yeah, there it is on the screen. Um, and so as users continue purchasing that, that goes all towards the pool. And you can verify that on chain as well. And the second aspect is we actually have launched streaming swaps. And a few users have utilized this, but we haven't yet gone into full marketing about what the benefit of this actually is. But what this allows is users can use their ADA to purchase MyUSD through the Mynth platform without incurring high slippage costs. So if you go to MintSwap or SundaySwap or wherever else MyUSD is listed, because of the low liquidity, you will have a high price impact. So if you want to buy $1,000 worth of MyUSD, for example, you might lose $100 worth of value. Whereas if you use our streaming swap service, then what's actually happening is the order is being broken down into smaller swaps and processed over time. And what this allows is for our arbitrage mechanisms and stability mechanisms to actually come into effect and take that swap and add liquidity in automatically. So when a user adds in ADA, the price of MyUSD can go slightly above $1. So what then happens is it creates an arbitrage opportunity to extract that small amount of value, and then that goes to the other side, and you can then mint the MyUSD by submitting USDT, and then that gets sent into the liquidity, and then that increases the supply. So just by users using the protocol, over time, naturally, liquidity will increase. So we have it really will come down to marketing and usage. The more that people actually use this, the more liquidity that will come. And there is a third point that we are considering, and we have teased a little bit on our X, and that is staking. And we are considering launching a staking program where you can earn some protocol revenue, and in exchange, basically the protocol will borrow the staking, but what you have staked. So you would take your MyUSD. So say hypothetically you want to stake 1,000 MyUSD. Well, you have to obtain that MyUSD, and then you stake it with the protocol, and then the protocol will be able to borrow that with an interest rate, and that interest rate will be your staking reward, and then that will be used as part of the liquidity. So this gives us an opportunity to kind of bootstrap the liquidity a little bit more. So we might be revealing some more details about how exactly that will work in a few months' time. But liquidity is a problem on Cardano. We're well aware of that. With MyUSD being a fully redeemable stablecoin, we don't have as strong of a liquidity problems as other stablecoins such as JED and IUSD. A core problem why we couldn't continue with JED is that when the funds are not enough, or there's not enough liquidity available, then you can't mint any more supply. So you're just kind of stuck. Whereas we don't have that problem because USDT, USDC has in enormous amounts of liquidity. So if you do need to bring more liquidity into the Cardano ecosystem, you can go to another blockchain and transfer it over into Cardano, and then that will increase the liquidity on the Cardano side.
Very solid responses there. Just as a quick recap, there is the Mynth Genesis NFTs that'll be going towards liquidity pools. There's also, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Is it streaming swaps?
Yes, streaming swaps.
Got it, which allow for the arbitrage gains to somewhat be used and to lower the price impact on larger trades when they're happening. A question when it comes to streaming swaps, given that the arbitrage opportunities may not present themselves immediately, or given that the actual trade itself is relatively large, I would imagine that that swap wouldn't occur instantly, right? It would probably take a week, maybe 2 weeks. Can you maybe talk about the length? Is it a day? Because again, it's not a regular swap, right?
Right. Yeah, so it depends on the size. On average, it takes about 10 minutes, so it's not an instant thing. If you're going to be swapping $1 million, for example, that might take a week. We're not there yet, but it really depends on your size. Like we have not seen any users so far take longer than 3 hours. Then again, we haven't had users come in and put in millions of dollars. So it really will depend. The automation that is in place and the mechanisms that are available, they work pretty swiftly, as you can see from the chart on Tap Tools. Uh, MyUSD is almost always at that dollar peg, so you can watch it. Like if you want to buy MyUSD, buy a large amount, you can see it go to $1.02, and then a few minutes later it will be back at $1. And the more that you buy, the slower the process is. But in general, it's pretty swift.
Yeah, thank you for that. Again, interesting concept. And then last but not least, you mentioned staking as well, right? Where people are able to earn an interest when that stake is actually being able to also be put at the same time to liquidity, basically making it easier for anybody else who's using the protocol to quickly get in and out of MyUSD. Interesting perspectives there. And again, I think those are really good responses.